Have you ever thought this isn't how I imagined retirement would look like? Maybe you thought you would be sharing it with a partner, or maybe you're still figuring out if you can afford to retire. Women are living longer, retiring solo more often, and rewriting what retirement looks like. So today I'm sharing my own story and what I've learned, not just the challenges, but the opportunities that come along with retiring on your own. I've been single since the age of 35 and I raised 4 kids. And now in this next chapter, I'm creating a retirement that works for me and a life that supports me emotionally, creative, and financially. So today we're talking about what it means to retire solo, what to plan for, and how to make this part of life your best one yet. So let's talk about the reality. More and more women are retiring alone. In fact, we're 50% more likely than men to retire solo. And that can happen for a lot of reasons. Never marrying, divorce, widowhood. But regardless of how you got here, it often means you're navigating this time with only your own income, your own decisions, and your own support system. And that can feel both empowering and terrifying. Many of us have faced unique financial setbacks. Maybe you were a single parent, like I was, and savings wasn't always possible. Or maybe you stepped back from a career to raise children or care for family members. And maybe you experienced the gender pay gap, which means needing to save more while making less. So retirement might sound like a finish line, but for many single women, it can feel more like a foggy starting point. Am I ready? Will I be okay? What will this next chapter look like for me? And that's exactly why this conversation is so important, because you get to define what success looks like. This video isn't just about planning financially. It's about helping you see the possibilities of retiring solo. Yes, there are some practical things we need to consider, but let's start with this. Retirement isn't a reward for a life perfectly lived. It's a season you get to shape on your terms. So I've been single since I was 35. It wasn't the path that I planned, but it became my path. And I raised 4 kids mostly on my own. And while I'm proud of the life that I gave them, I won't pretend it was easy. There were years when money was really tight and savings felt like a luxury because most of what I earned went to groceries and school supplies and gas to drive them around, all of that everyday stuff that never makes it to the glossy version of social media. But still, somehow I made it work, and I was always trying to think a few steps ahead, and I did save when I could, and I tried to invest wisely. I didn't wait for perfect conditions, and I just did what I could with what I had. But the real change happened after my children were grown, when I finally had the space mentally and emotionally to think, what do I really want? I realized I didn't want to work until I couldn't anymore. I didn't want retirement to feel like a scary unknown. I really wanted it to be intentional. I had been taking digital art classes for a few years, and I really wasn't sure what I wanted to do with it until one day when I was reading a book to one of my grandkids. And then it clicked. I thought, I could do this. So I started writing, illustrating, and publishing children's books that now generate income. I launched this YouTube channel, and I started creating digital products like a course and my budget and expense tracker to help others take control of their finances. I didn't do any of this because I had it all figured out. I did it because I didn't want to stay stuck in fear or indecision. When you've spent decades caring for others, it can feel foreign, even selfish, to focus on our own goals. But that's exactly what this stage of life gives us time to do. Retirement for me isn't about stepping back. It's about stepping into a version of life where I have more freedom, more time, and more alignment with what really matters most to me. So finances. When you're retiring as a single person, you are the financial plan. There is no second income to fall back on, no partner to split expenses with, no shared retirement account or built-in backup. And I know from personal experience that that can feel heavy, especially if, like me, you spent years raising your kids on your own or building a life on one income. And especially if you didn't get a head start with a 401k or a high earning career. But it's not too late to get organized, take control, and build a plan that works for you, no matter where you're starting from. Here's a few key pieces of the puzzle. Start with a budget. Know your numbers. Before you can plan for retirement, you need to know what life actually costs you. How much you spend on housing, groceries, transportation, healthcare, entertainment. It doesn't have to be complicated, just consistent. I created a budget and expense tracker that I use, and I'll link it below. It's simple and straightforward. Tracking your spending might feel tedious at first, but it's incredibly empowering. Once you see where your money is going, you can start making intentional choices. You'll spot where you're overspending and find opportunities and feel more confident in your financial decisions. Planning for healthcare and long-term care. This is one of the biggest financial risks in retirement, especially for single people who don't have a partner to care for them as they age. Look into long-term care insurance while you're still healthy. It's more affordable if you plan early. And research your Medicare options before you turn 65. Don't assume the system will automatically take care of everything. And prepare emotionally for a different financial picture. Many of us, when we were young, we thought retirement would look a certain way. A paid off house, a healthy pension, a nest egg big enough to live off of. But life happens. Divorces, career detours, caregiving, lost income. So here's the reframe. You may not have the traditional retirement plan, but you can have a flexible, intentional, and creative one. You get to design a life that feels good to you, even if it looks different than what you had imagined. Also, build income streams that support your freedom. You don't have to stop earning just because you've hit retirement age. In fact, more and more people are creating income in their 50s, 60s, and beyond through writing, consulting, teaching online, creating digital products, or offering services based on what they already know. That's what I did, and I continue to do. I write and illustrate children's books, and I have an online course and create budget tools like the one I'm sharing with you today. And I have this YouTube channel. And these things allow me to earn money without trading all of my time. And you may not need more money. Maybe you just need more creativity in your life. This part of your retirement planning isn't about perfection, it's about progress. Just start where you are, know your numbers, and protect your health. And don't be afraid to build something new, because financial freedom isn't just a number. It's the ability to live life on your terms. We've talked about finances, but let's be honest. Retiring single is not just about money. It's about identity. There's this quiet grief that can sneak in when life doesn't unfold quite the way we had imagined. Maybe you thought you'd be sharing this chapter with a partner. Maybe you pictured it traveling the world hand in hand or downsizing together and spending long mornings over coffee and conversation. But instead, you find yourself alone. And even if you enjoy your independence, and even if you're proud of the life that you've built, that contrast between expectation and reality can sometimes hit hard. And that's when we have to pause and reframe it. Because yes, retiring alone means facing things solo. But it also means you don't have to compromise. You don't have to negotiate your dreams or tiptoe around someone else's vision for this time of life. You get to create a retirement that is entirely yours. Still, one thing we can't do is isolate. Stay socially connected. It's essential for your emotional well-being, your mental health, and even, yes, your physical health. Studies have shown that loneliness can be as damaging as smoking or obesity. So that's how important connection is. So be intentional. Join a group like a walking club, an art class, or a travel meetup. Nurture your current friendships, even if it means you have to be the one to reach out first. Spend time with your family, your neighbors, or even your dog park crew. And don't underestimate the power of online connection. This YouTube channel, for example, has introduced me to so many inspiring people. People that remind me daily that we're not alone in this journey and that community doesn't have to look like it did when we were younger. So yes, retiring alone can feel vulnerable, but it also gives you space to reconnect with yourself and with others in meaningful ways. Once you move past the fear, the doubts, and the little voice that says you should have done things differently, what is left is freedom, real freedom. You're not waiting on someone else's timeline. You're not factoring in someone else's dreams or limitations. You're not adjusting your lifestyle to fit someone else's plan. You get to ask, what do I want next? Maybe you want to travel solo or with friends or on a group tour. Maybe you want to start the passion project that you've been putting off, or write a book, open a small business, volunteer, or create something. Maybe you want to slow things down, create a peaceful, simple daily life. You could move to a city or a cottage that speaks to your soul. Read, take long walks, sip coffee on the porch with no rush to go anywhere. And if finances are a concern, that is where freedom can turn into strategy. You don't have to rely on one income source or a traditional retirement plan. You can create your own version of financial freedom, one that fits your life, your skills, and your dreams. You can build a flexible, creative income in retirement that gives you both purpose and peace of mind. This isn't about reinventing your life from scratch. It's about realigning it with what matters now. Remember, retirement isn't a destination. It's like a design project, and you are the architect. Whether you're already retired or just starting to plan, don't let fear stop you. Don't compare yourself to others, and don't ever think you're too late. And thank you for watching.